Start the next chapter today, that is heat. Heat tells us many things. So let me start. So children, let us study about chapter heat, that is fourth chapter in your NCERT syllabus book. Heat, it's a branch of chemistry. That lesson is in chemistry. This is a chapter in 7th NCERT syllabus. So what we are going to study in this heat chapter? Here we will learn hot and cold, meaning, then temperature, what it means, then types of thermometer, clinical and laboratory types of thermometer, then unit of measurement, that is how we measure the temperature, then features and readings of thermometers, then transfer of heat. In the transfer of heat, we have three types, that is conduction, convection and radiation. Conduction we observe almost in solids, whereas convection we see in liquids and gases. Radiation, this transfer of heat takes place in free space and vacuum. So the next are good conductors and bad conductors of heat. Then sea and land breezes. So, what is heat? Heat is a form of energy to make a substance hot or cold. So, when heat is high, that is, when high energy is there, then we feel it hot. In that time, when we measure the temperature will be high. When we feel the low energy, that means it is cold, means not too hot, not too cold. When it goes lower the temperature level, that is minus degree Celsius, then you will feel too much cold. But when it is low energy, we have to understand that as it is going towards the cold region, and at that time we feel very low temperature. You already know that you have learnt in integers, when we move towards right it is positive, and when you move towards left it is negative. In the same way, when it is positive temperature it is high temperature, and when it is negative temperature it is low temperature, and when it is high temperature it will be hot, and during low temperature it will be cold. So measuring this degree of hotness or coldness of an object is known as temperature. So if different objects have different degree of temperature, of hotness and coldness, when we measure using the thermometer. This thermometer is an instrument used to measure the degree of hotness or coldness of an object. So thermometer device helps us to measure the temperature of any object. So a clinical thermometer, it looks something like this, children. It measures the body temperature of living beings, or whatever the temperature will be there in an fevered person or a normal person, or how our body normal temperature will be. All these things can be understood by this normal, and that means the clinical thermometer. So it has a thermometer bulb at its end, which is a glass bulb containing mercury, and between the black dark line which is shown with a small ultra U, that is called as kink, that is constriction, which controls the flow of mercury, and in between there is a small glass tube. The glass tube, the numbers are noted. In between the tube itself is that mercury line located, and the numbers denote the degrees Celsius what actually the body temperature measures. So this is our normal clinical thermometer, which we can use at home also for measuring the temperature, knowing the temperature of the body. If we feel we are feverish. So we can use at that time. This can be used by keeping below the tongue or in the underarms. The temperature of humans can be known by keeping below the tongue, but before keeping below the tongue, the clinical thermometer, whatever we use, should be neatly washed, wiped, and then only used. Like sterilization, what we call, it has to be cleaned and used, so that one person, after using for one person, we can't use it directly to the other person, whether it is used underarms or it is used under the tongue. Each and every time it has to be used by washing, cleaning, and then wiping. So children, this is a laboratory thermometer which is longer in size, and it can be handled little bit freely. Okay, so even in this mercury, that is in this thermometer, mercury is situated inside the glass bulb, but it doesn't have a kink, that is a opposite ultra U shaped kink it doesn't have. But this starts from minus 10 degree to 110 degree. So it increases by the step of 10 degree for each of the points, each of the break it increases by 10 degree. So here also the mercury thread is located inside the glass tube, and the dark black line that is coming through the glass bulb, that is mercury bulb, that dark line indicates the situation of mercury till how much till what place it has flown, and it is showing the actual temperature of the liquid or the solid what we are measuring in the laboratory. So in this thin glass bore glass tube, it's also situated in the glass tube, and therefore the numbers are also denoted on that glass tube. This helps us in doing the experiments while we use in laboratory of school, or it may be a laboratory of a clinic or a chemical lab. So this laboratory thermometer is used for laboratory experimental processes. Here is a thermometer indicating two types of degrees. One is degree Celsius and the other is degree Fahrenheit. Degree Celsius is denoted by a dot and C, and degree Fahrenheit is shown by a dot and F. When we come to measure the boiling point of water, we know that already boiling point of water is 100 degree Celsius. So that can be measured in Fahrenheit by the value, then it will be equal to Fahrenheit by 212 degree Fahrenheit. So freezing point we know already of water is 0 degree. If we consider it in degree Fahrenheit, it is 32 degree Fahrenheit. So freezing point of water in Fahrenheit is 0 degree Celsius or 32 degree Fahrenheit. Then boiling point of water will be 100 degree Celsius or 212 degree Fahrenheit. So the difference between Celsius and Fahrenheit will be by 32 degree Celsius. If we say that if we consider here 50 degrees Celsius, then when we want to convert it into Fahrenheit, we have to just add plus 32. So 50 plus 32 is equal to 82 degree Fahrenheit. So 50 degree if we consider in Celsius, then it will be 80. So see here, when 0 degree Celsius is equal to 32 degree Fahrenheit, then it is obvious that if we add plus 32 for any degree Celsius, we'll get the Fahrenheit. We'll get it in degree Fahrenheit. So here I have written few examples which you can go through now. If we take 22 degrees Celsius and then when we want to convert it into Fahrenheit, then 22 plus 32 will be equal to 54 degree Fahrenheit. In the same way, 50 degree can be converted to Fahrenheit when we add 32, and it will be equal to 82 degree Fahrenheit. If we want to convert 47 degree Celsius to Fahrenheit, then when we add 32 for 47, we are going to get 79 degree Fahrenheit. In the same way, when we want to convert 35 degrees Celsius to Fahrenheit, we are adding 32. So for 35 plus 32 will be 67 degree Fahrenheit. We can now see in a glance that what we have known about the temperature. Temperature tells how hot or cold something is. It is measured with a thermometer. It is measured in degree Fahrenheit, also degree Celsius. So left side we have noted down here with the countings 2 we have added this side, and when we check it out here, we have different division of markings given. So 50 to 60 we have 1 divisions in the center, which is the center picture which represents, and by countings we have 5 tens. So only one line, if it is in between two numbers, then it is counting in fives. If there are 9 lines, then it is counting in ones. If it is 4 lines, then it will be counting in twos. That is a measuring scale what we have written in a drawing or a diagram to make ourselves feel easy to understand the diagram. So I told, if the mercury is at the lower place, then temperature is low, and if the mercury is in a higher place, then it is hot. So this shows that it decreases. When the mercury level decreases, it gets colder. When the mercury level increases, it gets hotter. So I told children there are 3 types. I want to tell you that now the way of transfer of heat will takes place in 3 ways. When I started the lesson itself, I have told you there are 3 types of transfer of heat: conduction, convection and radiation. So conduction takes place in solid, whereas convection takes place in liquid and gases, whereas radiation takes place in space and wavy particles or through vacuum. So in this picture you can see the meaning of conduction. Conduction is the transfer of heat or electric current from one substance to another substance by direct contact. When the vessel is heated on the flame of fire, whole vessel will be heated and we can't hold the handle. See that the handle has become very much red. So this is called conduction because fire is in contact with the vessel and vessel is getting heated very soon. Then we'll come for convection. Convection is the transfer of heat through a fluid or liquid or gas caused by molecular motion. When we see the liquid flow inside the vessel, see, you can see the arrows. Some arrows are facing downwards and some arrows are facing upwards. This shows that when the molecules in the lower part of the vessel, that is liquid molecules, gets heated, it moves towards the colder region, and the colder molecules present on the upper surface of the vessel moves back to the hotter region. So the movement of colder particles is always towards the hotter particles, hotter molecules will be towards the colder region. So this is convection, that is the water when it gets heated in the lower place, that moves up and the water present in the upper surface of the vessel will move down. So next is radiation. Even if the fire is burning in the stove, we feel hot around that stove also. When we are standing in front of stove, even if we won't touch the fire, we feel hot for a small distance. That movement or the transmission of heat is called radiation, which is like a hot waves or particles. So this is radiation. Radiation can be defined as it is the energy that is radiated or transmitted in the form of rays or waves or particles. This is about three types of transfer of heat in solid, liquid, gases or rays, waves or objects. Even this picture shows the different types of transfer of heat, which is little bit enlarged, and some person is trying to touch the hot handle, which is not possible because it will burn our hands. So, and the arrows in the vessel showing movement of particle down to up and up to down, and there are few arrows shown from the stove coil also, which is moving far from the stove and the vessel. It is called as radiation. So these rays, that is hot, which makes us hot even if we won't touch the hotter particles because of the presence of hot waves around that particular region. So children, let us know what are the materials that conduct heat and which are the materials called as good conductors and bad conductors of heat. I have already told you that heat is a form of energy. So let us think here few questions. It's like this: which liquid is a good conductor of heat? When we touch a body with hand, it appears either hot or cold. Why? On a cold day, the blade of knife appears colder than its handle. Why? When wood is heated at a point, after a certain time, it starts burning. Why? If we put our bare foot on a stone floor, it feels cold, but not carpet. Do not feel cold. On carpet, we do not feel cold. So, for all these questions, so I think these are the questions which we can put to ourselves to understand the good conductor of heat. So let us see what in the next slide. So children, these are certain materials: aluminum, tin, copper, silver. All these are metal items which when heated at the one end, heat is transferred to the other end and we feel hot at the other end also after some time. So these are called as good conductors of heat because the energy is transferred but it is not damaging any of the part of these materials. So which are the bad conductors of electricity? Not electricity here, we are studying heat. I just wanted to divert you. So it's not electricity. In the heading itself you have it as examples of good conductors of heat. Okay. Children, you can see glass, plastic, ceramic, rubber, wood, wool, fabric, cork and paper. This when heated at one end, the heat or the energy what we transfer to it, it damages these particles. That is, they are not leaving the heat to pass through them from one end to the other end, but they are the heat is damaging these particles. Though these particles and materials, these can be called as bad conductors of heat. I hope you understand meaning of good conductors and bad conductors of heat. See here are few more examples which tell us about good and bad conductors of heat. Silver, copper, aluminum, brass, iron, lead, stainless steel. All these are good conductors of heat. Whereas vacuum, air, styrofoam, body fat, cork, water, glass, all these are poor conductors, means bad conductors of heat. So we can conclude it in one more way by taking a conclusion that how we can define the good conductors and bad conductors of heat. So let us see, heat is considered as energy, so the definition is also in the form of energy. Conductors allows energy to flow through them. Conductors are materials that can carry energy, that they conduct energy. Metal materials such as copper, iron, steel, and aluminium are all good conductors of energy. Here, what is energy? Heat. Here, energy is heat. Then insulators, they do not allow the energy to pass through them, flow through them. Materials such as wood, plastic, rubber, glass, they do not allow heat to pass through them, that is, they doesn't allow energy, and they are called as insulators or bad conductors. They don't conduct energy. Here the energy is heat energy. Insulators means the other name of bad conductors. Sea breeze. The weather on the land gets very fastly heated and also very fastly cooled. So we just now seen that in different types of transfer of heat, the hotter particles moves towards the colder region and cold particles moves towards the hotter region. The same thing happens when we consider the sea breeze. Sea breeze is that which happens in night, because the land is cooled very faster, but the sea which has got heated during the morning sunlight, which has become little warmer, will not cool very fast. Therefore the warmer particles moves towards the land, and cooler particles, that is cool air, moves towards the sea, so that the sea water also becomes cool. So cool sea breeze and hot sea breeze. When the cooler air moves from land to air water, the water becomes cool, so it turns to cool temperature, whereas the warmer air, when moves from sea to land, it becomes warm air and circulates in the atmosphere. After becoming cool, it also moves to the sea. This is about sea breeze. Then warmer air, as it is moving towards the land is becoming warm. By morning the land will become warm because of the warmer air blown from above the sea, and also due to morning sunlight the land becomes more warmer, whereas the water stays cool. Where in the night, when the water is warmer, the breeze blowing on the land goes towards the sea, so keeps the sea water, that is sea breeze. That is, breeze means here the air which is moving from or circulating from upon the sea and upon the land in a circular manner, from lower region, colder region to hotter region, and hotter region to colder region. Here also the same process takes place when the transfer of heat is there going on. The cool air upon the land will move towards the warmer air of sea, and warmer air upon the sea level will move towards the cool air of land. So here also the same process takes place. Warmer air moves towards the cool region and cool air moves towards the warmer region. So children, today we had studied about the heat, its how to measure it, and what is the instrument used, how we measure it in Celsius and Fahrenheit, and what are the different types of transfer of heat. Then what is the meaning of sea breeze and land breeze. Then we have at lastly studied good and bad conductors of heat. So in our next chapter, let us meet. Till then, have a nice day, good day, healthy day, happy day.